Enigma depravatio est. Enigma crudelitas est.
Welcome back, my fellow seekers. So the report has finally come out, but many people are saying there's not much in this document of any significance. But this document is not sending a message to irrational YouTuber skeptics like Thunderfoot.
You can work out that the object is about 1 meter long, about the size of a decent bird, and it's whizzing along because the plane is at about 20,000 feet, the bird at about 10,000 feet, and the plane is going past it at about the speed of sound.
You serious?
I mean, Thunderfoot, I think the Navy pilots know the difference between a bird and something freaky. Okay, because they have multiple sensors detecting it over time. This document is sending a message to universities like the one I'm at, the University of Iowa, where I became a lieutenant for a short while. In that time, I too also witnessed a UAP. But did I report it? No, because I had no video evidence to back up my claim and to present as data. But there are people in the military who do have better video quality evidence and who have more credibility than I. This short document is just stage 2 of the soft disclosure process, and there's some big clues in here if you read critically, especially putting into consideration the actual video evidence, which was presented to Jeremy Corbell, who is being used as a third party intentionally by the Pentagon to slowly build trust, so they don't have to just come out publicly and state something, because they want to slowly reveal this over time using universities like this to actually study the data. Not just their data. Okay, the UFOs aren't just going to the military, they're also going to many civilians. So that's where universities can start analyzing the civilian videos in more detail and see how that fits with the military's videos. So let's dig deeper into this document and be open to the other hypothesis that nobody wants to address on the media. And that's why we really need to ask the X-Files question. As I expected, more video evidence has been given to Jeremy Corbell by the Pentagon on one of the 18 incidents in the report. So they are just giving us a sample of one of the cases of the top 18 that have multiple sensor evidence, as stated in the report. The case of the USS Omaha of July 15th around 11 p.m. 2019 off the coast of San Diego. The two triangular UFOs, the night vision orb UFO, the radar detecting 5 of them, and the phone detecting 2 of them with a possible passing jet and airplane passing by the 2 stationary UAPs, is all considered one incident, the USS Omaha case file. So the report, without stating, has actually given us one of the cases and the supporting 4 pieces of evidence. so I think we will be hearing more about the USS Omaha case. What's shown here on the radar is a recording of 5 objects, but only 2 that we know was recorded on video. 2 potential triangular UFOs with a night vision camera, and 1 with just a phone. And another one with either a thermal camera of some sort that was more of an orb shape. So it's hard to know if those were the 2 same UFOs or 2 more UFOs, because the radar did detect at least 5 at that given time, but 2 of them seemed to disappear off the radar. Now they assumed these UFOs went below the radar. That is when they may have resorted to this video. This could be within 30 minutes or an hour, we just don't have the exact timestamp. So they captured this when its light was off in the dark, and this was more at eye level. So this is when they thought maybe it went below the radar. But 2 actually blinked off the radar. But instead of both being below the radar, it's possible that these UAPs have the ability to dematerialize away from our frequency. One may actually vanish away or fizz out where the other does go below the radar. They could play this game with us, and that's going to greatly complicate this phenomenon. Now they assumed it splashed in the water, which caused them to lose track of the object, but in the video it simply looks like the UAP just blinked out, unless there was an actual ear witness that heard the splash, but the audio makes it sound like this was just a quick judgmental reaction on behalf of the sailor, without verification.
Break Omaha, 15 kid, Rocco Peralta, passability to launch Hilo ASAP.
Splashing and bearing range.
Sure. You got 2 minutes, 3 knots.
Keep going, bro.
So,
Slow down.
make it 10, so you can probably bring about 35 relatives for the Sir.
Yeah.
100%. We got a lot of white water out there, so 6 foot swells.
Whoa, it's getting close.
Yeah, we have 31 knots sustained wind, top side, gust of 40.
Whoa, splashed. Mark bearing and range.
So the verification may come later after they reviewed all the footage and heard from eyewitnesses. One thing military witnesses emphasize is their transmedium abilities, such as with the Aguadilla, Puerto Rico airport case of April 2013.
Of course, at 9 o'clock in the evening. So what we got from a pilot and the flight crew in Puerto Rico, we all had to sign non-disclosure agreement saying that we wouldn't talk about it. And so we got a 3-minute and 54-second video of an object. Here's the airport where you now see the object coming in. By the way, we actually caught it on radar first. And at that point in time, a Customs Border Protection aircraft was taking off. And that was about 9:16 p.m. So it was already nighttime. They had just taken off, and they contacted the control tower because they said, well, I thought you said that we were cleared for takeoff. And what is this object that's up here that's coming toward the airport? And so they basically watched and tracked and filmed that object for 3 minutes and 54 seconds. It makes a loop around the airport, and it then goes into the water. It hit the water at about 109 miles per hour. And then it pops up out of the water, and it splits into 2 identical objects, which have different radar signatures. So we questioned at first the source. We actually took a look at the radar, and we confirmed it matched all of the telemetry that you see on the actual screen. So we ruled out fakery at that point because we now have confirmed that everything about it was accurate. We ruled out that it wasn't a balloon. We attempted to try to identify if there were birds, you could match up to this. And there's no birds that fly the speeds that we're talking about, and they don't split into 2. So that's, again, going back to a credible source where the data all matches up very nicely.
Notice he says the second object has a different radar signature. I would bet it's weaker. Radar waves can come out weak if an object is partially hollow. For example, if you had a wiffle ball versus a baseball, the signature will not be as strong with the wiffle ball. This indicates that the second object is forming its density, changing into a solid. But yes, I do believe these UAPs can also go through water, but it doesn't mean that they're from the sea. That's very illogical. I mean, where did my UFO come from? The sea? I was in the middle of Iowa. So no, they don't come from the sea. But they're using the sea to mess around with these sailors because that's the element that they're in. So UFOs are gonna use that as a cloak to hide themselves or poke out in and out, playing peekaboo basically. These are the details that would be in the classified report or a future detailed case file report on these specific incidences. Right now, the public just has a preliminary report, just a broad general summary. But there will be reports that go far more in detail, but those may be classified and not allowed to be accessed to the US or to the American people because other countries like China and Russia would love to learn about those details as well to see if it matches up with their case files. So I say dematerialize because there are mysterious footage out there on YouTube channels like Third Phase of Moon, such as this anonymous video, but there's no way to verify the context, and that's the problem with YouTube videos. But the characteristics does match up with many other videos that I've seen and other UFO YouTubers have archived on their channels. So you might be surprised, but more than likely, it's more than 30% of those videos on Third Phase of Moon or any other UFO channel actually are authentic. I could tell you it's not 1%. This phenomenon may be far more common than we ever realized, and this report may actually reflect that. They have 144 reports since 2004, and 80 of those could be categorized as other or mysterious, basically the UFOs, the UAPs. So that is basically 55%, and that is very high. The reason why it's high is because people in the military are actually seeing something mysterious and taking the time to report it. Most people are just not going to report something mundane like a balloon going up in the sky or a bird. So it says 18 incidents described in 21 reports. So again, basically they're categorizing it as there's so many reports, but within those reports are actually the same incidents but over a different period of time. So it's repeatedly going to a particular person or a particular warship, and this is a very common behavior we see with the UFOs that, you know, it happens to me. One time I saw a UFO, UAP I should say, and I was down at Lackland Air Force Base in formation, getting ready to retire the flag and all that, and out of the corner of my eye, this is a time when I was actually thinking about UFOs. The whole day, for some reason, I was just thinking about it because I probably watched some video. I was like, you know, send me a sign, send me a sign. And then during formation, I saw 3 white orbs, relatively low, and a few others in the formation actually saw it. I asked afterwards after we broke out, but it was just 3 white lights in a triangle formation. They just poofed into existence up in the sky, basically just white. And then it lasted during the whole time we were supposed to be in the parade formation. And then once we broke out, that's when these things just shut off simultaneously. Okay, and didn't make any noise like that. So I did not report that to MUFON, but I know that UFO was responding specifically to me because I was thinking about it the whole day. I was saying, hey, send me a sign. When I was walking back to my barracks, I was like, okay, there must be a sign. There must be something out here. And this was before my 2015 sighting, which was a lot closer. So it just shows these things target people. It's not that they're just targeting the military, okay? The military just has the means to be able to detect them easier than the average person with a bad quality video camera, okay? And also, for example, that those UFOs that appear at night, people think, oh, is that just a plane at night? Why is it appearing at night? Well, yeah, that's where I think, you know, if it's appearing at night, it's a higher chance of being more demonic in nature because it's playing with your selective attention. It's intentionally using the night sky, the darkness, to mess around, to make you question and be skeptical of it, but still look deeper into it. Okay? They know how to play with the environment, knowing the limitations of the human body. You have to be aware of that. So yeah, basically, 18 incidents describing in 21 reports observed unusual movement patterns and flight characteristics. So that's probably 18 out of the 80 ones. So of all the 120 reports, it was 80 of them that were pretty strong, and of those 80, there are 18. And probably within those 18 are the ones that they recently released in video evidence. Those are probably some of the cases. Now, the most important point of the whole document is on page 4, which is highlighted in a bold square where it states the socio-cultural stigma. The point of reviewing the Tic Tac UFO case and the USS Omaha case is to help break that cultural stigma against seriously researching UFOs beyond the civilians within MUFON. The second stigma is the pop cultural association with UFO equating to ETs. The Director of National Intelligence wants to break that cultural indoctrination in case this phenomenon is far more interdimensional in nature, aka supernatural, which the video evidence seems to be pointing to that direction. The military is making it clear that it wants funding publicly known money into researching this phenomenon that they are admitting is a phenomenon, which is stated in the acronym UAP. By calling it UAP, that is the first stage of changing the socio-cultural stigma. They don't just want secret funding and research done within just the NSA or CIA. They want to have all the federal agencies gather some kind of data when it does manifest and give it to the intelligence agencies. Instead of the intelligence agencies trying to look for it, they want to consolidate all federal institutions. So if someone has a case with actual video evidence, they want you to submit that as data that can also be presented to a university. So they're also hinting in this document that they want more funding for Congress to give grants to professors to really research this phenomenon, especially on the civilian side, to corroborate with the military side. Because the military is emphasizing that they don't have the proper sensors to really detect this phenomenon. I mean, like the cases that we see from the fighter jets, it's not high definition video at all. So what they are implying is they want experiments to be done on this phenomenon, specifically high quality video evidence. Or thermal evidence that's more high quality, set up cameras in specific locations, and researching how the phenomenon behaves. Such as the summoning experiment, which does work given time. I've tried it more than once, so it does work, but it takes a lot of time and you end up with a lot of freaky stuff. So I wouldn't want to be that grad student gathering the data and doing this experiment to capture an interdimensional creature, because they might end up with some freaky stuff happening within their house, specifically poltergeist activity. Because these interdimensional demons, at least the demons, are more than happy to probably help you on your little experiment. But that doesn't mean that the good angels can't manifest to give us data as well. So when I heard this in the news, I had that reaction like the guy in Independence Day.
The report says there is no evidence these objects came from outer space, and no evidence
I've
they
been saying
represent
it
a
for
technological
10 damn
breakthrough
years. Ain't
by
I
a
been saying it,
rival like
Miguel?
China or
I've
Russia.
been saying it.
So yeah, I've been saying it for over 10 years since my first sighting of an orb in 2008. That initially sparked my curiosity. It was a pulsating orb that faded in and out, which appeared multiple nights or every other night for an hour or so over the horizon by the river, that did not move consistently with the planets on the same direction. It moved the opposite direction. After years of researching this phenomenon, it just doesn't make sense that these are aliens from outer space when you actually look at the potential video evidence and high quality photo evidence after doing your best in filtering out the fakes and studying the UFO case files and taking the consideration of the anthropological and the theological context. So I think some in the intelligence agencies already know a lot about the nature of this phenomenon. I'm sure someone in the CIA knows about this photo that was taken in 1951 in California by a man named Guy B. Marquand Jr., who took this photo on a mountain road near Riverside, California on November 23rd of 1951. I have no doubt that someone in the CIA is looking at MUFON records, because many in MUFON are former intelligence officers. So there are high quality photos out there, but even with the intelligence agencies, a photo only goes so far. But now they can have a qualitative research approach and do a comparative analysis of the actual video evidence that they do have. So that's why Pentagon spokesperson like Susan Goff and Christopher Sherwood wanted to reiterate to the media that there is no evidence that this phenomenon is coming from space, or from our adversaries, or from ourselves, hence why they say it's a phenomenon. This phenomenon is very aware that we are trying to expose it, and they are even willing to appear in our photos with limited context and credibility of the specific eyewitness that they choose to manifest to. Sometimes they intentionally slip into our photos, only later for us to find out that there's something unusual in our photos, which later then gets reported to MUFON. They will play this clue game with us to test our faith and our reason between ourselves by playing with our situational awareness. So it does require some faith to even start an investigation, because we are just individuals looking at a computer monitor or a photo. That's why we have institutions like the CIA and the universities to do the hard research, which might require changing the methodology, because this is not like searching for an exoplanet. This is like searching for an exoplanet that has a mind of its own and that can break the laws of physics, as the military pilots have been stating. You can't call it a technology until you prove it's a technology. We're just assuming that it's a craft. That's a big assumption due to cultural indoctrination, hence the socio-cultural stigma. This is the first time in history that our technology is starting to be able to capture this phenomenon, although when it wants to be captured. If these were aliens, they sure like to take their time revealing themselves while being extremely elusive, to the point of them playing hide and seek over my house. Don't go to my house, go to the White House and creep on Creepy Joe. But Enigma, what about the video evidence of extraterrestrials? Aren't there some out there? And yes, there are a few leaked potential evidence that we do have to consider. Specifically 3 cases that I think have a high chance of being authentic. And when you dig into those cases, a theory starts to emerge if you trust the witness and the evidence. For example, let's take a look at Victor's case.
What else has the alien communicated?
Oddly enough, the being seems to have a much easier time communicating spiritual concepts.
The human body is a vehicle, a vessel. The vessel must be maintained to serve the spirit with maximum efficiency. But a broken vessel can be replaced. The human spirit, or the soul, can have many vessels.
Is the process natural or technological?
Both are one. Technology is a natural excrescence of humanity. Technology is a process the vessel uses to perfect itself.
So this transference of the soul from vessel to vessel, did your kind create the mechanics of it, or is it a natural? Did it predate the intellectual creation?
Before understanding must come acceptance.
It is not technological.
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that the question is meaningless. The soul can travel from vessel to vessel. Reincarnation, transfiguration, whatever. It's real.
What I'm getting at is, does he know how it's done?
Victor uses the term vessels to refer to the alien's conception of the body as a disposable vehicle for the soul.
I do know the interviews came to an end. Whether the being died or was retired, and I don't mean that in the spy thriller sense of having it killed, I mean retired from the interview process. I just don't know. I'm fairly certain it didn't go home, at least not in the physical sense. But these beings, they don't seem to be very concerned about dying or avoiding death.
Why do you think that is?
Maybe they know what comes after death with more confidence than we do. Maybe there's another vessel waiting for them on the other side.
The other side?
Yes, which may in fact be where they come from in the first place. I've heard the claims that they come from Zeta Reticula or the Pleiades, but it hasn't been established that they come from out there at all. Their saucers may not travel through space as we know it. They may fold in from another dimension, another reality.
You make them sound almost supernatural, like angels or devils.
Supernatural is just a term for aspects of nature we don't understand. For many people, they certainly do serve the functions of both angels and devils, forces we can't comprehend. Have you had enough of me? I think I've earned my money.
So what I think is going on here is these angels have the ability to conjure up a vessel, whether a saucer-looking metallic UFO, or a biological body, or a Bigfoot, or a werewolf.
There's two of them across the creek at the big rocks.
We were all talking about maybe having to shoot our way out. You're just sitting there, all of you are kind of petrified. You're just waiting for the walls to break open, something reach in there and grab you and hold you up, and waiting for the light to break in the cracks of the walls, and never happened. That's the strange part, because you hear it over there, but you don't see it over there.
So aside from the sounds, you also saw some things in the sky, in the air?
Yeah, lights, yeah, orbs. Other guys have reported orbs when I wasn't here. Me and my friend Bill saw one night was a big blue ball coming down from up here, slowly moving, definitely controlled, had some type of intelligence about it. And if you were just looking up there, you would think it was the moon, but it was blue, it was moving down. We lost it behind the trees and went over there. So I don't know what to think of that. You don't know what to think about any of this stuff, you know. We were in a tent, it just almost, it wasn't this dark, but this thing, whatever it was, just kind of starts moving across over here behind us. Elongated light, about probably 3 foot long, probably about that big around, and just a rod of light. I tell people when I talk about it, it's like a Star Wars saber. White, glowing, but not bright glowing, just glowing. And it just moved slowly through the trees, definitely controlled, and dissipated over here.
As I've stated before, UAPs are not just appearing as UFOs, but are also producing USNs, unidentified strange noises. Look into my other videos on that topic. And even are producing full-body apparition cryptids in limited time and space in order to mess with us psychologically, in turn affecting us spiritually. And in very rare cases, abductions do happen. This is not a joke. People are victims and are extremely traumatized by this. In some cases, as this film has shown, it leads to death. People can literally be spirited away if they leave themselves open to it through their own ignorance and pride. This is the same as a demonic possession. I'll leave a link to that documentary, Missing 411. Because some of these crop circles are said to be made by these mysterious orbs of light, aka jinns, fairies, or yokais, whatever you want to call them. You need to understand that interdimensional creatures are like the mind flare. They can warp reality and be very material when they so choose, but in limited circumstances. I know this is very uncomfortable reality, but luckily it's very rare, relatively speaking. So yeah, it's kind of a mindfuck, and even for me, as someone who believes in the supernatural, it's still disturbing. Okay, when I saw a wooden little ball teleport to my classroom, which I do have a video on, that was like, it's a mindfuck. It's like, oh my god, reality is not quite as stable as we might think. So they do this to manipulate our beliefs, and they want to reinforce in our minds that they are extraterrestrial. They want to hide in that perception, so they conjure up a cryptid body and place it strategically in the right location at the right time. I mean, what's the chance of an alien civilization crashing? I mean, a real alien civilization, they do not crash. They're so advanced. Why would they crash? I mean, airplanes nowadays barely crash. So the timing is just, everything is just too coincidental. And a real alien civilization would still be bound to the laws of nature. Doesn't matter if they're 1,000 years ahead of us. They're not going to break the laws of nature unless they tamper with the supernatural. And they wouldn't be playing this deceptive game with us for centuries. So you'll know when a real alien civilization comes. It's going to be 1,000 times worse than when Christopher Columbus came to Americas. But most astronomers are not optimistic about this due to the limitations of the Fermi paradox. But we have a desire to meet them. We always say, oh, there's thousands of stars out there, we can't be alone. You gotta be stupid if you think we're alone. But there's so many other factors within the Fermi paradox. Time and distance is a limitation. There are many great filters. Many geopolitical scientists say right now, this booming technological era is just going to be a blip in time, and we're going to go extinct in the next 1,000,000 years or less. So instead, these demonic angels are giving us a deceptive fruit to fulfill that desire to want to believe in aliens. So they take on the form of an actual biological body for us to poke at. So these fairies are taking at least 2 ET-like forms as seen in these 2 crop circles. Or they may be getting these ET forms from actual Type 1 civilizations that are stuck in their solar system, just as we are due to time and distance. Or they are taking on our future evolutionary form when Mars is fully terraformed. Or another scenario is they are taking on the ET forms of Venus 1 billion years ago, if there was a civilization there. Or another scenario is they're taking on the ET forms of a civilization tens of millions of years ago on Earth that died out. Either way, they're somehow taking an ET extraterrestrial form and actually giving us real hints of what a potential civilization may actually look like. But what really got me interested was the Roswell ET, which has 6 fingers and 6 toes. This could have a connection with the Nephilim, although instead of giants, they are now taking a new form to fit to our cultural perception due to our transition to the space age. So they are changing their form to fit the time, and they intentionally threw a bone at us, and that bone was the Roswell crash in order to set the seed. They know our weakness is the material world, so they take advantage of that by taking on different forms. What we are dealing with is a real-world Stranger Things. What Stan Romanek in the video you just saw and I have in common is we only started to get these manifestations when we conjured these things up, or summoned them, hence The Conjuring. I too had the flashes of white light multiple times next to my bedroom window and a porch over a period of a few weeks before I saw the red UFO. But thank God I did not reach the level of a full-body biological ET apparition playing peekaboo with me. That's where I say,
oh, hell no! Oh, hell no! Hell no! Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no!
Oh, hell no.
I mean, these demons are almost comical. They think we're fucking retards. They love screwing with us. I want to make this very clear as an eyewitness of the second kind, so I'll let Alita explain. This UFO?
It has the power I need. I feel a connection to it. I can't explain.
This could be supernatural. You've been drinking. This could be some drones flying over the base. For all we know, an unidentified flying object.
Respond to me.
Because I summoned that UFO. I've seen others like it, haven't I? Haven't I? Oh, whatever you saw, it's not about you or magic. I'm the conduit, aren't I?
And you know. You've always known.
Enigma depravatio est. Enigma